Unset Conversations is a live stream project which brings in conversation international art-related people. It is an alternative to superficial IG story content. To build up the meeting with a stronger intellectual value, the conversations at dusk time revolves around creativity and dreams.
Hi everyone, I'm in London, Peckham Levels. This is Sunset Conversations, session number 13. Thanks for joining, and I've got with me visuals by Ferg, a really good photographer and content creator, but also a football player and much more. So we're going to have him today. We just had a lovely walk around Peckham, really impressive how this area is changing so fast. We're preparing a short clip for you guys to enjoy in a few weeks. And meanwhile, I'm just going to pass my words to Isaiah. Isaiah, how was Peckham today?
It was interesting. It was interesting. I've never been to Peckham before. I've heard about it. Me being from Brooklyn, I saw a lot of similarities in what it's like in Brooklyn and how it is in Peckham. So I felt like I was at home in a sense. And it was nice. It was nice. Yeah.
We caught a really good day, sunny, and we just really enjoyed it. We met some locals. We really exchanged thoughts about how Peckham is changing and developing. And I mean, I guess with Brooklyn as well, you've seen a sort of big change in your life,
right? From
the day you were born there to nowadays.
Right, right.
Is that something you experienced?
Yeah, for sure. I did leave when I was around 16, but obviously I go back as often as I can, and you can see, certain groups of people living in certain areas that weren't there beforehand. Certain businesses opening up in areas where were sort of no-go zones, so to speak. So a lot of gentrification, and the whole scope of everything just changed. They built a new net stadium, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely.
Can I ask you something about the role of art in this change? Is art being always in Brooklyn?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. New York City on the whole is a very diverse place, and I think it's a place that encourages being artistic. I think that's a staple in the city, and I don't think that's something that's going to go anywhere. You can just take a walk around Manhattan, and the way people express themselves, and the way they dress, the way they carry themselves, the way they speak, that in itself is
so you're seeing that the art is in the air, you can breathe it in the streets.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, art comes in so many different forms. So whether it's an exhibition or whether it's an open mic session where artists come in and do spoken word or music that they've been working on, et cetera, et cetera. You can find art in every little corner in New York City.
Great. I mean, this is something I really want to do, like live in New York for a bit. Like the contemporary art in New York is just as nowhere else.
Right.
I think the way it has developed in New York and the way it's in there today, it's really... let me ask you something, because Isaiah is also a football player. He plays in the second league in Sweden. Used to play with Uppsala, and what's your team at the moment?
Strömsberg, yes.
Okay. So I can't pronounce it, but I think if there's any Swedish, you kind of got it. And how do you mix this passion for art and your passion for sport, football? And how did you got joined in this Visuals by Ferg project?
To be honest, I want to say I've always had an eye for photography, and I started making videos, believe it or not, making like highlight videos for football players. To add to their resume, to try to get them into college or with professional teams. So I feel like that's where I got my start with doing video. And eventually I just started to play around with my camera, creating stuff for my friends who are also football players who are into artistic things. One is an author. So I feel like everything kind of just happened organically.
Great. And you told me that now you're kind of moving towards documentary.
Yeah.
Was that because you felt some kind of inner need of documenting things and expressing things because of all your travels? Or is that because you really like this kind of technique which is behind documentary rather than, sport filming and things, but advertising?
I think travel definitely inspired my interest in documentary style films or even documentary style photos, because you can document a trip through photography as well. When you travel to different places, obviously it's eye-opening. You know, it's a perspective shift. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're stepping into someone else's. And obviously what works for you where you're from is not going to work for you where someone else is from. So, you know, for me, I just have an interest in learning about new cultures, meeting new people, seeing the way that they do things, maybe taking a little bit of that and adding it, you know, to myself. So yeah, definitely travel. Travel has a lot to do with my inspiration for documentary style.
Right. And going back to your Brooklyn experience, can I ask you how the community, the existing community, reacted to the change of the area? I mean, today we spoke to many locals about, you know, what their impression are about the new Peckham, the Peckham of art schools, the Peckham of, you know, galleries and all these things, and perhaps there's lots of people moving from the rest of London into Peckham. And I wonder, I mean, the community for some reason is really happy and it feels in a more stimulating environment, safer. They like to mix with them, but still, you know, there's always a fear whenever something changes.
Right.
So is that something that you experienced as well in your...
Yeah, definitely. I think generally when they start making these changes and they start, you know, building new businesses, new places start popping up here and there, it brings in a different crowd of people who have a different interest, and people sort of, they begin to feel a little bit safer. And a lot of times the people that are getting ushered out are the people that are on the back end of the change, and they can't really stay in those neighborhoods or can't stay in those areas. It's like they don't really have a choice. They don't have time to have a thought about it because of how quick it's changing. You know, if you can't afford your rent and they raise the rent on you, you're gonna have to leave. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that's always the other side of the medal in this kind of processes. Yeah.
Right.
Because many people then, you know, they get into trouble when the area gets more expensive, and not just the rent, but I guess also food and you know, all the other activities that, and also schools, you know, can get more expensive when they're private and they get trendier. But okay, let's go back to your project. Can you tell me a little bit about Visuals by Ferg?
Well, it started off just as a hobby. When I was in Brooklyn, I kind of wanted to take street photos. That's what I fell in love with at first, was street photography, capturing like candid moments of people doing just everyday stuff and making it look appealing to, you know, whatever platform I was going to post it on, whether it was Instagram, Facebook, etc. That kind of turned into me wanting to document positive imagery within the black community in Brooklyn. Was something that, you know, I definitely wanted to do. And from there, doing it as a hobby, I guess I started getting positive feedback from followers, positive feedback from friends, and I guess I realized that it's something that I was good at.
Yeah, you're definitely doing an amazing job.
I appreciate that. So as you get better, people start requesting professional work because they believe in your quality. And after a while, you know, it became a situation where it's like, okay, well, if I can make money doing this and I enjoy it as well, then that's the perfect combination.
Okay. Can you give us a hint on what you're going to do next? Are you still going to be a football player for the next few years?
Well, right now I'm 28, so I feel like I'm on the back end of my career. Physically, you know, mentally, obviously I'm getting more opportunities within my visual work that maybe I'm not able to take advantage of because of football or because I'm traveling. So I'm starting to take my foot off the gas a little bit in terms of football and making a slow, smooth transition into doing video and photography full time. So that's where I'm at right now.
Right. And I mean, since we're here and you're a football player, can you tell me a little bit how you leave the football market? You know, all the market behind the football scene with the stress which is in it, and all this money like traveling around, and you know, like, how do you feel about it? Do you feel an engine of it, a gear of this big system, or do you feel, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, and you know, it's just a business as any other for some people?
Yeah, for sure it's a business. first and foremost, it's a business, and you as a player, you're a product. You have to sell yourself. You have to show your abilities, you know, and make someone believe that them putting money on you or investing in you is worth something for them or something for their club. And I think if you ignore that and you don't keep that in perspective is when things can get complicated. Obviously, you do it because you love it, but at the end of the day, the people at the top, there's money involved.
Absolutely.
So it just is what it is, and that goes for any sport. You know, basketball, football, baseball. It's all the same across the board. It's a business first and foremost.
And do you get really pissed about it? And like, do you struggle to cope with it sometimes?
I mean, it just comes with the territory. You know, that's the nature of it. That's the way that I see it. You know, it is what it is. Unfortunately, people end up in situations where, you know, they're dealt an unfair hand, you know, or they're not treated justly because of the business side of things. And the people that are making these decisions is not to say that they're bad people or they don't care about you, but at the end of the day, they have a business to run. So that side of it can get ugly at times, but it comes with the territory, which is something you have
You're
to...
still in love with the game of football,
yeah, 100%. That's the root of why you're doing it, is because you love it.
Great. Isaiah, it was great to speak to you, and I suggest everyone to stay tuned as we're going to post some little clips of what we did today in Peckham in the next few weeks. And thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for staying with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Anytime, man.
Yeah,
Anytime.
appreciate it.